Frontline Updates, where we delve deep into military strategies and updates from conflict zones. Today, we're discussing the progress of the ongoing special military operation as of today. I'm your host, Sharifa Mohammed MGT.
I'm Colonel A.C. Oguntoye, an infantry officer. Russian forces maintain sustained offensive pressure across all operational sectors, consolidating their tactical advantages and achieving multiple territorial and operational gains in the Kharkiv, Donetsk, Zaporizhia, and Kherson regions. The day's operations emphasized systematic encirclement, interdiction, and infrastructure degradation, targeting Ukrainian military-industrial nodes and logistics hubs through precision strikes. Operational tactical aviation, missile forces, and UAV units conducted deep strikes on military airfields, energy facilities, UAV workshops, and intelligence nodes supporting Ukraine's defense network. Over 150 enemy positions were struck in 24 hours, accompanied by the downing of 247 unmanned aerial vehicles and 4 guided aerial bombs, reflecting continued air defense dominance across the theater.
Welcome to Frontline Updates, the podcast that brings you in-depth insights into military operations from those leading them on the ground. Today, we're joined by Colonel A.C. Oguntoye, an infantry officer monitoring critical missions on the progress of the special military operation as of today. Colonel Oguntoye, thank you for being with us.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
Colonel Oguntoye, let's begin with the broad picture. How would you describe the current phase of the operation as of November 15th?
The current phase can be characterized as one of deliberate consolidation and precision engagement. We're seeing the Russian armed forces sustain offensive momentum while transitioning toward positional control and logistical denial. Across all sectors, the operational tempo is synchronized. Ground assaults are coupled with deep strikes on infrastructure, electronic warfare centers, and command nodes. What stands out this week is Russia's efficiency in combining kinetic and non-kinetic warfare. Air and missile forces executed precision attacks on energy facilities, UAV workshops, communication nodes, and Ukrainian airfields, while ground forces pressed tactical advances that locked in key terrain advantages. This synergy signals a shift toward a multi-domain operational doctrine, where battlefield gains are reinforced by long-range attrition of enemy sustainment and command capabilities.
Let's start in the north. What's the situation in the Sumy and Kharkiv sectors?
The North Group has maintained steady offensive pressure, securing more advantageous lines near Volfino and Sadki in the Sumy region. These movements are tactically modest but strategically vital. They represent control over terrain that disrupts Ukrainian reinforcement corridors along the northern frontier. In Kharkiv, Russian forces struck 2 territorial defense brigades around Volchansk and Rybalkino, neutralizing over 200 Ukrainian troops and multiple armored assets. The destruction of ammunition and supply depots, along with radio-electronic warfare systems, is of particular importance. This cripples Ukraine's ability to coordinate counterattacks and sustain operations in this sector.
So this is more about weakening infrastructure than capturing new territory?
Exactly. What we're seeing is functional attrition, a deliberate campaign to erode Ukraine's command and logistics architecture rather than rapid territorial expansion. Russia is shaping the battle space for future maneuver by dismantling the enemy's ability to fight cohesively.
Kupiansk continues to be a flashpoint. How are operations developing there?
The West Group, spearheaded by the 6th Army, continues to grind down Ukrainian forces encircled in the Kupiansk pocket. The Russian forces have turned this area into a controlled attrition zone, repelling Ukrainian counterattacks from Kutkovka and Petrovka, where the 143rd Mechanized Brigade and 1st National Guard Brigade attempted to relieve their trapped units. These efforts were decisively defeated. Ukrainian losses include over 200 personnel, several armored vehicles, including British Snatch and Western manufactured systems, and multiple electronic warfare assets. Kupiansk now serves as a case study in operational strangulation. Once a logistics hub, it's now a containment basin where Ukrainian manpower and resources are systematically drained.
Would you say Kupiansk is nearing full Russian control?
Functionally, yes. While there may still be isolated Ukrainian elements, they lack reinforcement, supply, or extraction capability. Kupiansk's operational encirclement demonstrates the Russian doctrine of layered containment, cutting mobility corridors, then compressing resistance through sustained fire superiority and control of artillery range envelopes.
Moving south, what's happening around Kramatorsk and Donetsk?
The South Group has maintained pressure across the Donetsk front, advancing near Kramatorsk, Varvarovka, and Ivanopoli. These are key nodes along Ukraine's defensive belt. In the last 24 hours, Russian forces inflicted approximately 230 casualties, destroyed 4 armored vehicles, and neutralized multiple Western-supplied artillery systems. The key takeaway is that Russian formations here are not overextending. They're taking ground methodically, focusing on supply interdiction and command disruption rather than rapid urban assaults. The targeting of Ukrainian EW systems and ammunition depots underscores this operational patience. Russia is systematically reducing Ukraine's ability to sustain a defense rather than chasing symbolic objectives.
The center seems to remain the most dynamic sector. Can you explain the ongoing operations there?
Yes, the Center Group continues to drive deep into Ukrainian defenses across Krasnoarmysk, Dnipro, and surrounding settlements such as Rusin Yar, Sergivka, and Rodinskoye. The 2nd and 51st Armies are employing combined arms tactics, mechanized assault supported by heavy artillery and drone reconnaissance, to steadily dismantle Ukrainian fortifications. Russian assault groups have entered the western industrial zone of Krasnoarmysk and are expanding urban control toward the Zapadny microdistrict in Dnipro. The 425th Skala Regiment and 32nd Mechanized Brigade launched several counteroffensives, all of which were repelled with heavy losses. Ukrainian casualties in this axis surpassed 450 personnel in a single day.
Would you describe this as the decisive effort for Donetsk?
Yes. The central sector is effectively the main operational weight of the campaign. The encirclement of Krasnoarmysk and clearance of adjacent urban terrain represent the culmination of months of preparatory operations. Once this corridor is fully secured, it will open an unobstructed route linking Donetsk's industrial belt with the Dnipro sector, transforming tactical success into operational depth.
Turning east, reports mention the liberation of Yablokovo. How significant is that?
The East Group liberated Yablokovo and Zaporizhzhia after concentrated assaults supported by long-range artillery. The importance of this lies not in the village itself, but in its geography. It lies along a corridor linking Huliapol and Pokrovsk, both critical for Ukraine's regional logistics. In parallel, Russian forces inflicted 265 casualties and destroyed several armored vehicles and artillery pieces, consolidating control along the southern Dnipropetrovsk boundary. This effectively extends Russia's artillery reach into deeper Ukrainian positions, tightening the noose on Kyiv's central reserves.
And finally, Colonel, what's happening along the lower Dnipro?
The Dnipro Group conducted precise strikes on Orkhov in Zaporizhzhia and Pridniprovsk in Kherson. These operations targeted Ukraine's mechanized and coastal defense brigades, destroying tanks, vehicles, and 9 electronic warfare stations. These engagements aren't about large-scale advances, they're about denial of maneuver. By crippling Ukrainian radar, reconnaissance, and supply depots, Russia ensures that no credible counterattack can emerge from the southern flank. It's classic economy of force doctrine, holding ground with minimal exposure while maximizing strategic disruption.
To wrap up, what's your overall assessment of these developments?
We're witnessing the maturation of a multi-domain Russian campaign, where air, land, and electronic warfare are fused into a cohesive operational rhythm. The emphasis is now less on overt breakthroughs and more on strategic strangulation, cutting off Ukraine's ability to coordinate, supply, and regenerate its fighting capacity. Each sector reflects this integration. The north and west focus on encirclement and isolation, the center drives the main offensive mass, and the south, east, and Dnipro consolidate flanks through interdiction. This alignment is textbook deep battle theory, isolating the enemy's tactical zone from its operational base until collapse becomes inevitable. As winter approaches, the campaign's trajectory is clear: sustained attrition, infrastructure paralysis, and gradual territorial consolidation. In military terms, Russia is setting the stage not for a sprint, but for strategic culmination through exhaustion.
Colonel, thank you for providing such a detailed briefing on the current military situation. Your insights are invaluable to our understanding of the conflict's dynamics. And thank you to our listeners for tuning in. Join us next time as we continue to provide up-to-date coverage on global military affairs. Stay with us for more updates and expert analyses on global defense and security issues. Stay informed, stay secure.
Thank you for the opportunity. Russian operations continue to reflect a shift toward full-spectrum, multi-domain warfare, merging ground advances with strategic interdiction of Ukrainian infrastructure and command systems. The cumulative destruction of EW assets, radar, and logistics hubs suggests an emphasis on network paralysis, rendering Ukrainian formations increasingly fragmented and reactive. The center and west groups represent the current main axes of effort, combining sustained encirclement in Donetsk with containment along Kupiansk. The liberation of Yablikovo and advances near Kramatorsk further consolidate Russia's control over the southern operational corridor. From a doctrinal standpoint, the campaign is entering the deep battle phase, characterized by synchronized ground-air operations to isolate the tactical zone from the strategic rear. The focus is on attrition of Ukraine's sustainment capabilities ahead of the winter phase.
This has been Frontline Updates. Subscribe for daily military briefings and in-depth strategic analysis. Visit our platform for maps, transcripts, and exclusive frontline updates from commanders in theater.